There is something I want you to think about right now. In the very moment you close your eyes at night and drift off towards sleep, something quiet but potentially dangerous might already be moving inside your body. This is not happening because of a sickness you already know about. It is not because of a warning your doctor gave you at your last checkup. Instead, it might be happening because of the ordinary choices you made in the 3 hours before you clicked off the bedside lamp. I really want you to stay with me for a little while because what I am going to share with you today is not the kind of thing you usually hear in a doctor's waiting room. You will not find it on those shiny pamphlets they hand you at the clinic. This is the kind of information that lives in the quiet space between what medical science has discovered and what doctors actually have time to sit down and tell you. For millions of people over the age of 60, that space is not just quiet. It is genuinely dangerous, and for some people, it has been fatal. Let me tell you about a man named Harold. Harold was a kind and gentle man who spent his working life as a teacher. He was 71 years old and lived in a comfortable house in Columbus, Ohio, with his wife of 44 wonderful years. Harold loved his life deeply. He loved working in his garden on slow afternoons. He loved playing with his grandchildren whenever they came to visit, and more than almost anything, he loved sitting with a warm cup of coffee every single morning and watching the day begin. If you had looked at Harold from the outside, you would have thought he was doing just fine. He was not taking a mountain of pills every day. He had no chest pain. He had none of those dramatic warning signs we are always told to look out for. One evening, he went to bed feeling exactly the way he always felt, completely normal. But when his wife tried to wake him the next morning, Harold was gone. A serious cardiac event had taken him silently in the night without a single warning, without giving anyone even a moment to help him. After that happened, I went back and looked carefully at everything Harold had been doing in the weeks before he passed away. What I found changed the way I think about bedtime completely. Harold was not hurt by one big dramatic moment. He was slowly weakened by a handful of small habits that seemed perfectly safe and completely ordinary. The kinds of things almost all of us do every single night without thinking about them at all. And here is the truth that I need you to hold on to. The most dangerous health risks are never the ones that shout at you. They are the ones that slip in quietly through your everyday routine. The things you stopped noticing years ago because you have been doing them for 2 or 3 decades. A significant study published in the European Heart Journal followed more than 84,000 adults between the ages of 60 and 80 for 9 full years. What the researchers found should make every person in that age group stop and pay close attention. People who had a certain pattern of nighttime habits were 67% more likely to die from a cardiac event during sleep compared to people who made small, manageable changes. 67% is not a rounding error. That is the difference between waking up to see the sun tomorrow and not waking up at all. I know what you might be thinking right now. You might be saying to yourself that you feel fine, that you sleep reasonably well, and that this probably does not apply to you. And I want to say this to you with complete honesty. That way of thinking is exactly what puts people in the greatest danger. Our bodies do not always sound an alarm before something goes wrong. Sometimes things just stop. So, let me walk you through the 6 habits that seniors truly need to leave behind before they go to sleep. The first one we are going to talk about seems so innocent that most people laugh a little when they first hear it. It is eating a large, heavy meal within 2 hours of going to bed. Maybe you had a late dinner because the day got away from you, or you finished off some leftovers, or you simply wanted something warm before you settled in for the night. It feels cozy and harmless, but inside your body, the story is very different. When you eat a big meal, your digestive system demands a large portion of your blood supply to process all that food. Your heart has to work significantly harder than it normally would to push that blood down into your belly. When you are 30 years old, your body absorbs that extra effort without much trouble. But researchers at a university in Brazil found that for adults over 65, the cardiovascular stress from a large meal raises blood pressure by approximately 22 points and keeps the heart working at an elevated pace for 3 full hours afterward. During those 3 hours, you are not sitting up watching television. You are lying flat in bed, completely asleep, and your heart is quietly struggling without you knowing it. On top of that, lying down on a full stomach allows acid to travel back up from the stomach into the throat far more easily. And after the age of 70, the valve that keeps acid where it belongs becomes weaker. When that acid rises, it can irritate the nerves connected to your heart and trigger irregular rhythms in people who already have even a slight vulnerability. The solution is beautifully simple. Finish your main meal at least 3 hours before you lie down for the night. If genuine hunger finds you later in the evening, a few walnuts or half a banana will satisfy it without burdening your heart. Researchers in Ireland also found that a 10-minute walk after dinner lowers blood sugar by 28% and meaningfully reduces nighttime cardiovascular pressure. You do not need a gym or special equipment. Walk around your living room, down the hallway, around the block if the weather is kind. 10 minutes is all it takes. The next habit surprises people because it involves doing the right thing at the wrong time. Around 60% of seniors over 70 take their blood pressure medication in the morning, which makes complete and logical sense. Morning is when we start our day, take our vitamins, and establish our routine. But a landmark study that followed nearly 19,000 patients for 6 years uncovered something that genuinely changed how many cardiologists think about medication timing. Patients who took their blood pressure medication at bedtime rather than in the morning experienced a 45% lower risk of heart attack, a 49% lower risk of heart failure, and a 66% lower risk of stroke. The reason comes down to something called nocturnal hypertension, which is when blood pressure spikes dangerously high during sleep, usually in the early morning hours between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. That window is when the majority of cardiac events and strokes occur. If you take your pill in the morning, it is at its strongest around midday and beginning to weaken just as you enter that critical overnight period. If you take it at night, it reaches its peak effectiveness precisely when your heart needs protection most. Please do not change your medication routine without first speaking to your doctor because everyone's situation is different, but bring this research to your next appointment and have that conversation. It may be one of the most important discussions you ever have. The next risk is one I think of as the silent thirst trap, and it catches many older adults completely off guard. As we age, our kidneys lose some of their efficiency, and the brain's thirst signal grows quieter after the age of 60. You can be significantly dehydrated and not feel thirsty at all. Many seniors deliberately stop drinking water in the evening to avoid waking up during the night to use the bathroom, which is an entirely understandable choice. But what happens inside the body when you go to bed, even mildly dehydrated, is genuinely alarming. Blood becomes thicker and more viscous, harder for the heart to move, and far more prone to forming clots. Think about the difference between water flowing freely through a straw and thick honey being forced through that same straw. One study found that the blood of seniors who were mildly dehydrated at bedtime looked almost identical to the blood of someone in the early stages of a stroke. The answer is not to drink a large amount of water right before you go to sleep. Instead, have a full glass of water rich in minerals like potassium and magnesium about 2 hours before bed. A small sweet potato or a handful of dried apricots in the late afternoon can also help your body maintain hydration throughout the night without sending you to the bathroom repeatedly. Magnesium, in particular, helps your blood vessels remain relaxed and calm during sleep, and we will return to that mineral in just a moment because it matters a great deal. Now we come to something very personal to me because of a patient I once cared for named Dorothy. Dorothy was 78 years old and lived in Arizona. She came to me after experiencing two small strokes. She was doing almost everything correctly. She was taking her medication faithfully, going for regular walks, and eating thoughtfully. But when I asked about her evenings, she described spending 2 to 3 hours in bed each night, reading on a tablet and watching videos of her grandchildren on her phone. She genuinely had no idea that the light from those screens was quietly working against her heart. The blue light emitted by phones, tablets, and televisions tells the brain to stop producing melatonin. Most people understand melatonin as a sleep hormone, but researchers at Harvard discovered that it does something far more important for older adults. It acts as a kind of protective coating for the blood vessels, reducing inflammation and preventing arterial stiffening. When you expose yourself to screen light at night, you strip that protection away. For people over 70 who already produce dramatically less melatonin than younger people, this is a serious problem. A published study found that regular nighttime light exposure raise the risk of cardiovascular events by 43% in older adults. Dorothy stopped using screens after 8 o'clock in the evening. Within a few months, she was sleeping more soundly than she had in years, and her heart health markers had improved by 30%. She has not had any additional problems since making that one change. 2 hours before bed, turn off the screens. Your heart is asking you to do this. The next habit on our list is one that genuinely surprises most people when they first hear it, and I understand why. The habit is sleeping on your back. When you lie flat on your back, gravity pulls your tongue and the soft tissue at the back of your throat downward, which can partially or fully obstruct your breathing. This condition is called sleep apnea, and approximately half of all older adults have it without any awareness that it is happening. When your breathing stops, even for just a few seconds, your brain treats it as an emergency and releases a flood of stress hormones, including adrenaline. Your blood pressure surges rapidly. Your heart is jolted into action. This can happen dozens or even hundreds of times in a single night, and you will wake up the next morning feeling like you simply had a restless night with no memory of the repeated crises your body was navigating. But your heart remembers every single one. The American Heart Association has identified untreated sleep apnea as one of the most significant and under-recognized contributors to nighttime heart attacks and strokes. If you share your bed with someone, ask them honestly whether you snore loudly or seem to stop breathing during the night. If you sleep alone, record yourself with your phone and listen back in the morning. Sleeping on your left side in particular is much gentler on the heart, and a long body pillow can help you stay in that position through the night. If you have already been prescribed a breathing support device, please use it every single night without exception. It is not an inconvenience. It is protecting your life. Now we arrive at the most important one, the habit that sits at the very top of this list. It does not just carry its own risks, it multiplies and intensifies every other risk we have discussed. It is the habit of carrying heavy stress and unresolved worry into your bed at night. Think honestly about your evenings. Do you watch the news before you try to sleep, filling your mind with frightening stories about the world? Do you lie in the dark, replaying things that went wrong during the day? Do you lie awake in the quiet, worrying about your health, your finances, your children, or your grandchildren? When you do this, your body responds as though you are facing a genuine physical threat. It stays flooded with cortisol and adrenaline throughout the night. Normally, during sleep, blood pressure is supposed to drop significantly, giving the heart a sustained period of rest and recovery, during which it can repair the small damages of the day. When your mind is full of worry, that healing drop never arrives. Your heart stays under continuous pressure from the moment you close your eyes until the moment you open them again. A 20-year study found that people who habitually worry at night carry a 72% higher risk of a fatal cardiac event. After the age of 70, the body's ability to clear stress hormones slows considerably, which means the damage accumulates night after night, week after week, year after year. This is what was happening to Harold. He was not a man who complained or showed his worry to the world. He was quiet and kind and private. But in the dark, he lay awake thinking about his family and his future, and his heart never received the rest that would have allowed it to keep going. The path forward from this habit requires intention, not willpower. Give yourself a dedicated wind down period of at least 30 minutes before sleep. During that time, write down 3 things from your day that were good, even if they were small: a pleasant conversation, a good meal, the sound of rain. This simple act signals to your nervous system that the day is genuinely over and that it is safe to release its guard. Practice a breathing technique that has been shown in clinical settings to activate the body's natural calming response. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, and breathe out gently for a count of 8. Repeat this 4 times. It works like a biological break, slowing the heart rate and lowering blood pressure almost immediately. And consider adding magnesium glycinate to your evening routine. This specific form of magnesium is gentle on the stomach, crosses easily into the brain, and has been shown in studies to improve sleep quality in older adults by 39% while simultaneously relaxing blood vessel walls and supporting healthy heart rhythm throughout the night. I want to close by telling you something I believe with my whole heart. It is never too late. The human body is extraordinary in its capacity to begin healing the moment you give it the right conditions. Every one of the changes I have described today is achievable. None of them require enormous effort or expense. They require only awareness and the decision to act on it. Finish your meals earlier in the evening. Talk to your doctor about when you take your medication. Keep yourself gently hydrated through the afternoon and early evening. Put down the screens as night approaches. Change your sleeping position. And when you finally lie down, let the day go. Give your heart the quiet it has been asking for. Your body has carried you this far. Give it the chance to carry you much further.